Hello, friends. Hello, hello. It's Diane Cunningham Ellis, and I'm excited to have you here with me today. This is our interview for Inspired Ideas, the podcast, and also the YouTube show. And I get to introduce you to one of my business besties, and her name is Mary Grant, marygrant.com. And I'm actually wearing a Mary Grant design that I got when I was, look at this, it's just beautiful. Let me just hold on before we settle in. It is just a gorgeous wrap, cashmere. Hello. And it's actually cold enough today in Texas to wear it without feeling like a goober. So, welcome to the Inspired Ideas show where you never know what's going to happen. Mary is a designer. She runs a membership for women called Aligned. She has a mastermind that's going to be launching called Momentum. She lives in Dublin, Ireland, and I got to meet her in person actually in Arizona at a mastermind where, God bless her, she was trying to help pick me up from an airport, driving on the other side of the road, not knowing where the hell I was, and we never actually met at the airport because I was over there acting like I'd never traveled before in my whole life long. So we got to meet. And spend 3 days together because we are in a mastermind with Jamie Bright together, and along with other 10 other amazing people. And so Mary is my dear friend. We talk on Telegram many times a day. We probably have, hours of podcasts over there. But really, they're probably inappropriate. So that's okay as well. We laugh, we call each other out, we cuss and carry on. So Mary, welcome. And I'm so glad you're here. If I skipped anything from your introduction, go ahead and fill them in.
Thanks, Diane. I'm already cracking up laughing here. You could probably hear me tittering in the background there as you were speaking. Thank you.
So, okay, tell them a little bit more about, you launched, so marygrant.com, I'm sure has been around a long time, but before that you had brick and mortar shops, probably even before you had a website, I'm imagining. I could be completely wrong, but tell our listeners a little bit about the inspired idea that you had to, and this is going way far back, we're going back to the archives. How did you become a designer? How did you do all this? And what year was that?
Wow. My inspired idea for becoming a designer was, it wasn't anything nearly as lofty as being a designer. So I was always into making my own clothes. So even like 10 or 11, I used to make my own clothes. So you can imagine my street cred. My street cred was non-existent, but I used to love making clothes. I loved the construction part of it. So I wasn't into the arty side of it. I was into how do things go together. So probably if I'd even known what engineering was, I could have maybe gone that route. But it's all about the construction. How do pieces go together? How do they fit? How do they fit the body? All that kind of stuff. So I just remember having this notion one day. I was working in my bedroom. I had to leave to go to my proper job. And as I was walking out, I said, I would love to be able to do this if I have kids someday, so that I can be at home with my kids, can have my job, making clothes for people. And that was it. That was my inspired idea as such. And that happened then a few years later. So I left school. I worked in a supermarket. All I wanted to do was go out and play with my friends at the weekend and have money just to party. And then eventually I went back to college and I studied to do design, but really for the pattern construction, but still not thinking that I was going to have like a proper fashion collection or anything. That notion grew as I was in college. So I started my own business the same year I got married. That was in 1993. So it'll be 30 years next year.
Wow.
Yeah, 30 years.
So in 1993, is that when did you rent a little shop in 1990? I mean, so because I think it's so interesting how we end up where we are, 30 years later, we're going to probably talk a lot about, inspired ideas are great. And sometimes they go in the shitter and it's the evolution, we have to start again. And I know you had, because I was in Ireland, I know you had your shop for a while at Powers Court. So did you start out in somebody's little back room, you know, like renting a little closet, or I mean, how did it start in 1993?
So it was all that process of evolving and pivoting. So I was constantly evolving and pivoting. And basically I have done everything that you can do in the fashion industry. So when I started out, it was from doing work experience with a knitwear designer. So from being in her office, just listening to what was going on, she knew what was missing in the Irish market at the time. So there was a lot of talk about how the quality was really bad. And I was like, oh, I can fix that. You know, that's something that I can really be good at. So evening wear was also missing. So I did a capsule collection of evening dresses. They were all exactly the same style, exactly the same, different fabrics, different surface treatments. And as I started selling those, then, you know, I was getting feedback from people, and I just kept evolving it. And it's completely like, I hate evening wear now. I wouldn't do it if you paid me. You couldn't pay me enough to do that kind of thing. I also did wedding dresses, which you couldn't pay me to do wedding dresses now. But, you know, from doing that, there was a place in Powers Court at the time called the Irish Design Centre. And there was two ladies that started that. And what they did was they nurtured young designers coming out of college. So I got a little space on a rail in there, and, you know, you sell one dress and it's like, oh my God, I sold a dress this month. And then, oh, I sold two dresses this month. And, oh, I sold €1,000 this month. And that's actually pounds back then. But it just started to grow and pick up momentum. And I started to just figure out what it was that I really wanted to be doing. But from being there, I was asked to do the dress for the Eurovision Song Contest for the Irish entry. And that was one of the years that we won. So I got massive press coverage from that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever heard the song. It's called The Voice. Emer Quinn was a singer, and she brought a whole wardrobe of pieces from my collection to Oslo with her that year. So she had a different outfit on from my collection every night. She was named best dressed in the whole competition, and it just brought so much press to me.
Wow.
Which in turn started to get people, you know, coming to me looking to see would I sell to them for their stores. So that started my wholesale business. So it was constantly evolving like that, kind of evolving from one thing to another. That went on. I was starting to export, and then my marriage went, and all of the exports stopped because I couldn't get on a plane and leave my kids. So that was just too much of a tug on the heartstrings. So I pulled it all back, and I decided I was just going to do what I could do at home. So then we won an award with Brand Thomas, which is like the luxury department store. I don't know what your equivalent is over there. So our prize was to sell on their shop floor for 2 weeks.
Okay.
We knocked their socks off with the figures that we did. They were like, what the hell just happened there? It's like we came in with a runner rail, a 6-foot runner rail, and we could not keep the stock on the rail. It was insane.
Wow.
And even the way my girls, because I had a studio at my house, and basically we moved the studio to their shop floor for the 2 weeks. But even how they trained their staff changed after we had been there. You know, the stylists had to bring people into the dressing room, they had to dress them, all that kind of stuff. So we got an invitation to go back the following season for 1 month, and we ended up staying for 5.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was insane. It was just, and then I got the bug for retail kind of bit then, and I wanted my own stores.
Okay.
Yeah, when the recession happened, I stopped doing wholesale because I was a single mom. I couldn't take the not being paid. It just wasn't an option for me. You know, it was hard enough to keep the roof over our head. So I had to stop wholesaling then. But my main business then was the department store. But after 5.5 years, I decided it was time to open our own stores. So I was going from wholesale to department store to retailer myself.
Wow.
I opened my own stores. And I loved that. I loved setting up the stores. It was so much fun. I I love doing interiors as well. So I'd be in there and I'd be painting and we were making shelves, and it wasn't like any proper shop fit that you've ever seen. It was just a mishmash of things that I had gathered over the years that I loved. And everybody loved those stores. Everybody loved them. And then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, to be honest, it was like a perfect storm for me because I was getting a little bit tired of retail, but I had all the overheads. I had the staff, I had the team. It was like, well, what am I going to do now? Look at all these people that are relying on me. But when COVID happened and the stores closed, and all my ladies who were at that age where they were doing it for fun didn't want to come back to work.
Right. Yeah.
It was the perfect opportunity to close and go online. So that was another pivot.
Yeah. There's so what year? I mean, I know COVID was 2020. So when COVID is, and we're going to get to, Mary has these beautiful capsules now, and that's kind of the next part of the story that is coming around the bend. So stay with us. Stay with us. It's so good. So how many people did you have working? So you had 2 shops in the Ireland, Dublin area. Like these were, it said Mary Grant on the front, because I know I've seen pictures. And so how many, I guess, how many years did those go on, and how many employees did you have when COVID hit?
So I had 9 employees when COVID hit.
Okay.
And the 2 stores. So the store in Dublin I had, after being in the department store, I had that for 5 years. And I had the one in Newbridge, which was my first one, for 7, 8 years at that stage.
Yeah. Okay. So, then we fast back forward to COVID, and we all know, March 2020. And so you were in a, I mean, I've heard the story before, but I obviously share it here for the sake of this recording. A lot of us have businesses, but like, we don't have people, we don't have like 2 shops, like rent to pay, people that are, you were in a very high stress situation, and no stores are open. You can't sell anything. And so give us a snapshot of what's going on for you, devastation and recreation. I mean, really.
Yeah. It was so weird because I think you said the 13th of March, the 14th of March, we made the proactive decision to close. At that point, we hadn't been told to close in Ireland, but I could see what was happening with tourists around Dublin and that, and it just wasn't nice. So I said, right, we're going to close for 2 weeks until this is all over. Not knowing. Oh my God, not knowing. So anyway, we closed the doors, and literally our stock for the new season had just arrived. So you think at the beginning of March, literally we had the boxes unpacked, we had the rails all merchandised, and then closed shop. Now, luckily, I did have an online store at that stage, which people were using as a viewing gallery. So there was this mad scramble for everybody to get online back then, and people who said they were never going to go online, other stores that I knew, it's like, no, you have to be able to try things on, and you have to be able to touch the fabrics. And I was like, yeah, you're going to get over that real quick now, aren't you? So, they were scrambling to get online. We were already online, but it's like, well, who's going to buy these clothes now? It's like there was plenty of stuff in there that suited people who were going to weddings, and it was like, nobody's going to any weddings. Nobody's going anywhere.
Right.
So like my first thought was like, right, that's it, we're screwed now. There's so many times that I've saved this business from tipping over the edge in the 30 years. This is the one that's going to take us down. But I just decided, well, it's not my fault if it does. If it goes down now, at least it's not my fault. And that gave me so much freedom, just that shift in thinking that there's nothing I can do about it. If it fails, it fails. And suddenly I started to get more creative in how I was showing up. And my daughter was working with me at the time. So we knew there was a year coming up when we were going to be able to work together. Suddenly, instead of being in the stores, she was at home. So we just started showing up, having the crack each day, just acting the maggot between the 2 of us, We said, come on, we'll just show up on Instagram. And just, she said, what are we going to talk about? We can't sell anything. And I was like, oh, we'll just show up anyway. You know, people love the antics and they love the crack. So that's what we started doing.
What's the crack? What's the crack?
Just having a bit of fun.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, the Irish lingo. Yeah, so we were just having a bit of fun, and just because we've got this really fun dynamic that goes on with the pair of us. We work really well together, but people loved it. And, you know, with people being locked in at home, they started to tell us that they were living to see what we were up to.
Nice.
You know, like we weren't doing anything. We were just really not giving a shit, basically. It's like, well, here we are. It's like, what are we going to do about it? So, and it's funny then, the more we started showing up, just having fun and sharing what we were doing, then the orders started to come in. We were like, this isn't. The orders started to come in. And then as the year was going on and we had the opportunity to open up the stores, my ladies didn't want to come back to work, you know, so I was trying to recruit, but nobody wanted to work anyway. So even the people who had lost jobs because businesses closed, they didn't want to work. Nobody wanted to work. So as the year went on, I was getting closer and closer to making a decision to not open the stores at all. And luckily, both of the stores were out of lease.
That's just a total miracle.
That was my miracle. Yeah. That was my miracle. So we closed the Dublin store first. We made that call. That was the one with the highest overheads. We made that call. It was the one I loved the most. That was the hardest decision. And then we kept going with the Newbridge store. Not 100% sure that we were closing, but you know the way you look back now and you know that everything was moving towards that. But in the moment, we were still trying to make things work. And then just before Christmas 2020, we made the announcement that we were closing the stores.
Okay.
Wow. You'd think we told people that we're never going to be able to buy a stitch of clothes again. It was insane. And I was like, oh, I just can't cope with this. I just want to stop. At that stage, I wanted to stop designing altogether. I didn't want to do this anymore. And it was like people knew what I was thinking. They were like, please tell us you're not going to stop designing. And I was like, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's time to do what I want to do. Leave me alone. But it was like, it was just the weirdest 2 years. When I look back and I think of what has happened over the last 2 years, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. But there was so many opportunities to get creative.
Right. Yeah. No, so you've done 4 capsules since then, right? Capsule launches, and I'm going to have you explain that for our listeners, because some people will have heard of it and understand completely. Some are going to be like, what in the world are you people talking about? So we're going to talk about the capsules, but we're also going to, in the middle of all this, you launched your membership. So since COVID, you've launched your Aligned membership. And so tell us a little bit more about Aligned first, and then we'll talk about the capsules.
Okay, so the membership kind of happened by accident. So just before COVID hit, I had started doing a coaching course because I always felt like designing, I always felt like the fashion industry was very shallow. And I was like, there was something for me personally, I know you're laughing, and it is so true. It's so bloody shallow. And it's so superficial. And it's like, I cannot bear talking about clothes all the time. It does my head in. It absolutely wrecks my head. So I always knew there was something missing for me. But people were starting to tell me how good I was at coaching and blah, blah, blah. And I just started doing a coaching course, basically, just out of curiosity for something for myself. But then when COVID hit, I did a couple of wardrobe challenges, again, just to amuse people. And, we did wardrobe edits, and I'd written my book, and I was showing people how to use the style archetypes and all the rest. And then the membership happened by accident. So after we had done the wardrobe edits, everybody was buzzing. The community was hopping. You have my book.
Of course I have your book. Yes. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so the community was buzzing, and it's like one of those stories where you hear like you do a challenge, but then what happens next?
Yeah.
So I was starting to notice all the things that were coming up for people. And to be honest, over the 30 years that I've been working with women, I was seeing all the places in life where people get stuck. I was seeing all the places where people get, where they lose their confidence. And this was happening to the most successful women that I knew, like
Right.
really badass women. And they were getting stuck over the silliest little things. So, this was all feeding into the coaching that I was doing, the book that I'd written. And I started this membership not having a clue what the hell it looked like, not having a clue what it looked like, and just working with people and doing challenges and doing a little bit of coaching and doing a little bit of wardrobe stuff. And these people were just coming along for the journey. It was like everywhere that I went, they just followed me. And it was quite amazing. So like 2 years later, I've just rebuilt it now. And
Okay.
we were talking about this earlier. So it's like, it's the three pillars that I feel that women need to be fully aligned to show up as the best version of themselves for whatever it is they're trying to achieve and to keep evolving. So that's really basically what it's about.
Mm-hmm. And how many members do you have in Aligned right now?
I have 65 members, I think it is.
Yeah. And I
So
mean,
I haven't tried to grow this at all over the last 2 years. I've spent all my time trying to figure out what it was and what I wanted it to do. Like, what the hell is this thing,
well, and these are some of the conversations that Mary and I have offline, which is really important. And I want to make sure we, Mary and I are in a mastermind together, and it's high level and it's high. There's all sorts of people in there, men and women. All some have memberships, some have masterminds, some have, it's a really diverse group, and some of us really can connect and relate. No matter what we're selling, we're all in the transformation business. And the delivery unit can be a membership, a mastermind, a book. And so, but we can get all twisty, all crazy as a loon about which way to deliver. Is it a 1 week challenge? Is it a 1 month challenge? Is it a 1 year programming? And then we get twisted up. Well, how much is that? Right. And 65 members is good. I've had memberships too, and I've had anywhere from 165 to 10 people sitting there.
Okay.
And so I love what you just shared about really not knowing what the hell you were doing and just letting it. Again, I have on my wall, your clients want your clients want the evolution of you.
Mm.
Your membership, they're going to just tootle. I mean, I have women follow me around since the MySpace days. I have one woman that has been with me since MySpace. I'm like, you are still here? You are still here. Like we did a Voxer hour on Friday. And and I'm still helping her, and she's still trying, she's still learning. And so I loved your authenticity about what you just shared. I mean, the fact that we want to continue to just keep, how can I serve these people? Whatever, however many are sitting there. Is it 5? Is it 500? How can I teach them what I just learned? I don't have to be the guru of all the things, but I do know a few things.
Yeah.
And I don't have to think, oh, I don't know enough. You know enough. We all know plenty, and we know enough. And really everybody wants to just come together to say, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to wear. I don't, we have to build these safe havens, and they're called different things. They're called memberships and masterminds. They're called, coaching cohorts. They're called, change the name, but we're creating something that's safe. What did our gal say? Jamie said it's safe. People want to feel safe, supported, and seen.
Mm.
Safe, supported, and seen. And I keep coming back to that because you do that with your people. You do that with me. I do that with you. I do that with my people. Wow. And sometimes it's like, like when I think of fashion, I want to show Mary the new shoes I got yesterday. Cause like, I'm feeling like when you can put something on and you can like go, yeah, I'm walking around like a rock star. That affects how we come into the world.
Yeah.
It affects how we come into the world. Anyway, I'm totally off on a rant, but yes, I have your book. I'm just gonna this is Mary's book number. Sorry, it's like a little blurry. Empowered by Style. Hold on. Ooh, there we go. Hello, Empowered by Style. Mary Grant, Empowered by Style. She's writing her next book, but I just want to make sure, Amazon works whether you live in Ireland or wherever. And you can, I mean, I feel like the Amazon guy is just like down, it's two houses down, because I can order something and it's like, oh yeah, here you go. Like, really? It might take a little longer in Ireland to get something, but okay. I'm going to pause for a minute. Is there anything you want to say right now? Because I have another thing I want to ask you.
No, I don't think so. I'm just going with the flow here.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want you to show a little bit. I mean, you have one of your cashmeres on, but I want you to show them a little bit of your shirt underneath, just because it's unique and it's part of your new capsule, and that'll be a lead in. Because I want you to tell them, your capsules are each a little different, and there's 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a Mary Grant design. I love it. I love it. And so tell them what is the capsule, and how do you create your capsules?
Okay, so years ago, my designing shifted from just being really creative and putting things out there that would work on ramp shows and get press coverage and get magazines and all the rest. I started designing for women's body shapes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was how I felt like I was empowering women back then.
Nice.
It was like that was my focus when I was designing. I could picture, and I do this with my membership now, I visualized all these people that I knew were customers, what their issues were, what their problems were, what their body issues were. And I started designing in such a way that they would just feel amazing without knowing why. So that allowed me so much freedom in what I created for people. So people would start following every single collection that I did. I had people who bought every single thing that I designed. So that was really good for me as a designer, because I knew, number one, I was giving them what they needed, plus I was getting to do what I wanted myself. So when I had the stores, I had to design so much stuff, because it was my brand was the only brand in the stores. So you can imagine what that was like. It's like you've got the pressure to do the sales every day, but it's only with one brand. So,
oh god.
yeah, so there was a lot of stuff that I was doing that I didn't want to do. So when I closed the stores, I was like, this is it. This is my chance now to do what I want.
Yes.
Only what I want. It's like, I'm not doing any more stuff for weddings. I'm not doing all the colors. And if you'd seen some of the collections from years ago, you would not believe that it was the same person designing them. But it allowed me to just shrink it all down to what I really wanted to do and what I want for myself. Basically, I keep designing because I have to wear clothes myself, so, there was a certain key element within what I was doing in the stores that I wanted to continue doing. So basically, I boiled it down from enough stock to fill 2 stores and to do all the sales over the whole 6 months and the 12 months of the year, right down to between 15 and 20 items each season. And each season evolves from the one before. So I might have, say, the same 3 or 4 base items in capsule 1, capsule 2, capsule 3, capsule 4. A couple of those might change. So it's always evolving, but you can always you can keep building your wardrobe from one capsule to the next. So say if you buy 3 pieces in one capsule, there might be 1 piece in the next capsule that completely reinvents those pieces.
Okay.
So that's where wardrobe building and, making your wardrobe timeless, making it personal to you and evolving it. So it can evolve right through from people started buying my collection back when I was in my 20s and they were in their 20s. Their kids are wearing that stuff now, but they're still evolving key elements right from that time right through to now. So I don't know, that's a very long-winded way of explaining what the capsules are. So basically the capsules are 15 to 20 pieces and each one builds on the one before.
Okay. No, I mean, that's helpful for an outsider to know, because yeah, I mean, you have let's say somebody finds you today, they can purchase from 1, 2, 3, they can purchase from any capsule, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, all of these go into the massive, the digital store, the Mary Grant digital store now, but they have come out, you know, capsule 1, capsule 2, capsule 3, capsule 4. They are all kind of in the same family unit, so to speak. You know, there's a lot of mixing and matching that can happen. And so I could find you and pick 3 from number 1, and then know that I could add another high quality piece once a year, or, you know, twice a year. I could add 1 or 2 pieces and build from there, and, you know, begin to release other clothes that no longer serve me.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly
Okay.
it. And then we never have sales. So there's no seasonal sales. There's no discounting. There's none of that. So, you know, the piece that you buy today is not going on sale in 3 or 4 weeks time.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay.
And then, so I'll order X number of pieces of something. If it's specific to that capsule, we will sell it until it sells out, and then it's gone.
Okay.
So the key elements, so things like leggings, palazzo trousers, a couple of the tees, will run through all of the capsules. And then you will have items that are specific to that capsule that are limited. So when they sell out, that's it, that's gone.
Okay.
And we may or may not repeat that in the future. So very often what I find is that people will ask me 3 or 4 years later, I need to replace such and such a thing, will you do it again? And if enough people ask me to do that, then I'll repeat it. But I never know from one capsule to the next what's going to happen, to appear.
So and I've walked through a couple of these with you, probably, you know, since we first met. So Mary and I first met, I guess, in February of 2020, this year, whatever this year is, 2022. You know, it's been a wild year. So so Mary did a new one in March, and then Mary just did another. So that would have been capsule 3 in March, and then capsule 4 would just happen in September. And so in between, there's a time where Mary is designing.
Mm.
And, you know, it's kind of you know, she's been doing this a long time, friends, obviously. So she gets in the back room, like, which is in her house somewhere. She goes in the back room, and she's like, you know, at the sewing machine, friends. You know, she's like at the sewing machine. And what you don't know either is that each of these pieces, you know, she obviously orders. She's not in the back sewing every item, right? You're not back there with, like, there's not 300 elves in your back. No. So you're designing this, and then you have, I don't know what the right word is. You pay, what
I have a
do they
factory.
a
I have a
factory.
factory that I work with. Yeah.
Okay, so Mary then pays the factory to bring, you know, create these X number. I mean, how, like, give me a ballpark. Are you ordering 200 t-shirts, 200 shirts, or 500 shirts, or 50 shirts? Give me a ballpark.
No. Ballpark for something that, there's one particular tea, and it's a tea that you love. It's like a boat
I
neck
know,
tea.
I want that. I want it
Yeah.
really bad.
So
Okay.
we might order a couple of hundred of those pieces, but then we might order only 50 of something else.
Okay.
And if something is really limited, we'll only order about 20 of those.
Okay. Okay. So there's the designing time. So flash forward. So so you are going to prepare for capsule 5. I'm assuming that'll be in March.
Mm-hmm.
So when will be you in the, you know, in the background with the, you know, the stuff, like, you know, the wild scientist? Is that going to be in December, like you back there chopping and crafting?
Probably November. I want it all done and shipped to the factory by the end of November. So
Okay.
there'll be a
Okay.
few weeks there where I will just go underground, and I'll be talking all kinds of gibberish that'll make absolutely no sense to anybody.
Okay. No, I mean, I think this is really the interesting pieces to this, because, you know, and then after it all happens, so Mary gets you know, opens the door to the virtual store. People go running in there, and they are like clicking, buying, clicking, you know, buying and buying and clicking. And then when that 300 shirts are gone, or 50, it just says sold out on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Mary is back there, and I'm not kidding, Mary is shipping these all out herself.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
These are the things you think, really? I mean, Mary's over there shipping 450, was it 450 packages this last time?
Mm. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was when we launched in September. So the first week obviously is the crazy week. So over, I think nearly 500 packages went out that week. But the thing about the shipping was I never planned on doing all that myself. And because in the back of my head, I was like, this is my last capsule. This is my last capsule. This is my last capsule. I never put any system in place to replace me doing it myself. So I haven't figured that bit out yet, but the beauty of it is after a few weeks, so it's like, it's insane. This 1 week of launch is a massive, massive week. Then we have a big week, the second week, and then it turns into a part-time job for me. You know, it's like, you
Right.
just reminded me I have a few parcels to get out before I go on holidays tomorrow, you know? So it's just literally a few hours a week then, because I have, obviously, I mean, because I'm packing parcels myself, I have that down to like the fastest you could possibly pack a parcel, you know, but it's still beautifully wrapped in that. But I just have a really good, fast system. So I can get through a lot in a very short space of time.
I love it. I mean, these are the behind the scenes things that people love to hear. You know, everybody loves kind of what goes on behind the curtain.
Mm,
And so Mary does this twice a year. As you can tell, there's a big push, it's a big old thing. And then in the middle of all that, she you know, runs her membership, which is aligned. And then I know she's preparing and planning for a mastermind. So I mean, we could go on and on and on. I mean, I know probably people are like, oh my gosh, they are just cuckoo birds, but we are. And
well, there wouldn't be wrong there, in fairness.
oh my gosh. So I guess what let me see if I have a closing again. I mean, I've learned, let me just say this. I've learned so much from you, Mary. You know, I am honored to be your friend. I'm honored to be your Telegram partner. You know, I mean, and it came, here's what I want to say to those listening. Things are going to evolve organically. Just like Mary just said, you know, you don't know exactly where you're going to end up. I mean, her whole business story is like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening now. What's happening now? And you've heard stories of pivots, of evolution, of freedom, of I might, you know, every year you're like, oh, I think I'm closing the shop. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, we say those things a lot, like, okay, I'm quitting, and you know, we don't quit.
Mm,
Here's the deal: I've quit. You know, I've sold memberships, I've sold things, I've thought I was, and I end up creating the exact same thing with a different name. Truly, I've done that a few different times. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is my gig. You know, this is my life calling. And
mm,
you know, I believe that Mary, you are doing your aligned life calling as well. And has it changed over the years? You bet. You have a lot more freedom and flexibility now. You get to go on this really cool holiday starting tomorrow.
mm.
And you get to work with your daughter, and she's a delight. Um, and you get to really serve and empower women.
Yeah.
You get to serve and empower women, and that the adornment is outside. It's a piece, you know, how I dress. I want how I dress to make me feel better and to actually fit who I am, my personality. And
Yeah.
all of that you get to do, and you know, sell something I can touch and hold. And by the way, I want that shirt you have on right now really bad, and I want that other white one. I want those. So, you know, I got to go log in. But um I love that I love your story of resilience. I love how much I learned from you, and I love our laughter and kind of our gibberish that we talk to each other.
I do too. I have to say that there's days when I'm like, where is she? She has to be up on her walk. She's late today. What's going on over there? And the crack and the messing and just the laughter that we have, it just makes every day lighter and more fun. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate you for that too.
Mhm. Yeah. And Mary and I didn't know we would be, you know, sometimes you can go looking for a business bestie, and it probably won't happen. You know, we met in person for 3 days, and I don't really, I think our friendship happened, I mean, we obviously started having conversations then, and sat next to each other at Thai food. and I was like ranting and raving about something that I don't eat this and I do eat that and whatever. But we've just been we've been friends. We've been friends with each other, and I love that. So they can find you at marygrant.com.
That's me.
Yes. And
Hmm.
I am going to suggest everybody go take a look. Take a look at these beautiful pieces and get signed up for, there's a quiz there too. Is there, tell them there's a quiz?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I'll be doing a little bit of rejigging now. I'm almost finished rebuilding my hub. So now it'll be
Okay.
time to start actually showing it to people, telling people that it's there. The best kept secret that I've sweat blood and tears over for 2 years.
It's amazing, the things that go on behind the scenes, there's always behind the curtain, right? There's always
Yeah.
like the elves, like, is there elves back there? No, there's not elves back there. It's Mary back there. It's Mary back there, wrapping the bundle. So this has been a delight. I'm so honored to be here with you. And so go find Mary, everybody. Go find Mary, Mary.com. Mary, did you okay, this is a side friend question. Did you buy Mary.coach?
It wasn't available.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you can buy the domain. I have Diane.coach. So
Yeah.
if you haven't bought your name, friends, go running straight over there. Diane.coach. All right.
Yeah.
So we are going to call it good. Hope we would love to both hear from you. If this was helpful to you, give us a shout. And thank you, Mary, for spending time with me today.
Thanks, Diane. It's been so much fun.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.